Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right on your twin flame journey, yet nothing seems to shift? You're not begging, you're not reaching out, but still, there's a quiet ache inside, a longing for something to change, for him to see you, feel you, return to you. You wonder, if you've stopped chasing, why does it still hurt? Why does silence feel so loud? This video is for the divine feminine who has paused in the stillness, unsure whether surrender is strength or abandonment. In today's message, we'll explore what truly happens when the divine feminine stops chasing, not just physically, but energetically. You'll understand the sacred power in detachment, the unseen activation that occurs in the masculine when you choose your light over your longing. We'll guide you through the deeper truth behind your silence, how it's not a void, but a frequency shift, a silent storm, a remembrance he cannot ignore. By the end of this video, you will no longer question your quiet strength. You'll see that your decision to walk forward wasn't rejection, it was resurrection. You'll realize that you didn't lose him when you stopped chasing. You freed him. And in that same moment, you returned to your own sacred power. This isn't just about healing heartbreak, it's about reclaiming the wholeness that magnetizes divine love without needing to force it. So if you're ready to stop wondering whether he feels your absence and start understanding how your energy speaks louder than any words, then stay with us until the end. This message will stir something ancient within you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more soul-deep guidance on this sacred journey. Number 1. The silent shift, lighting the match within. Prepare yourself, eternal flame, for what this next chapter is bringing, because everything has changed, and it all began the moment you stopped chasing. You didn't plead, you didn't explain, and you didn't beg for love to stay. Instead, with quiet strength, you lit a match deep within your own soul. And then, you simply walked forward. No drama, no declarations. Just a shift so profound that the silence itself spoke louder than any words ever could. This wasn't a silent goodbye. It was a sacred signal, a ripple in the energetic field that carried the message your heart had long held. I choose me now. That vibration, though quiet, roared like thunder in the unseen spaces between you. And somewhere, whether he admitted it or not, the divine masculine felt it. It touched something in him that no logic could reach, something ancient, a soul memory, a reckoning with his own truth. Now, he finds himself sitting in the stillness, not because you abandoned him, but because your light has grown too powerful to be ignored. The glow he once sensed from afar has now become a beacon, blinding, undeniable, magnetic. He's no longer asking where you went. He's asking something much deeper. Do I have the courage to rise and meet her there? Not in the way he once knew love, but in a way that requires transformation. You didn't lose him when you let go. You liberated him. You gave him the space to choose, truly choose. And in doing so, you reclaimed your power. You freed yourself from waiting, from wondering, from needing. And now, the flame you carry is no longer just for him. It is your own lighthouse, your own warmth. And if he returns, it will be because your light called to the part of him that was always meant to rise, not for you, but with you. Before we move forward, take a moment to reflect on this powerful shift. Has there been a time in your own journey when silence spoke louder than words? When walking away wasn't giving up, but rising higher? If this message resonated with your soul, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story could be the mirror someone else needs right now. Or if you're holding this transformation in your heart, simply type, "I lit the match within." Let it be your affirmation, your anchor, and your declaration of growth. Number 2. The fire that was always yours. a silent revolution of light. This transformation did not erupt like thunder. It did not announce itself with grand declarations or visible fireworks. No, it arrived in stillness, pure, intentional, and deeply energetic. There were no words to declare it, no speeches to explain it, because you didn't need to speak it into existence. You became it. You embodied the very light you had once sought outside of yourself. The fire you lit was not an invitation to be seen by him. It was a vow to yourself, a vow to rise, to heal, and to burn, not for recognition, but for reclamation. This fire was always yours. It had just been waiting for you to claim it. And now, even though you've spoken nothing aloud, that energy echoes louder than any conversation ever could. It fills the emotional chamber he once kept hidden, the room he retreated to when the depth of this connection overwhelmed him. It is the space where he used to observe you quietly, distant and afraid, unsure of how to meet you in your light. But now, your light has entered that room, and no matter how silent he remains, no matter how still he pretends to be, he feels it. The fire that once flickered has now become an undeniable frequency. He cannot unsee it. He cannot unfeel it. The very vibration of your growth now pulses through his hiding place. Yet this shift wasn't meant to cut the cord. You didn't walk away to sever the bond. You expanded it. You elevated it. You stretched its limits beyond the old definitions, beyond fear and waiting and sorrow. This wasn't an ending, it was an ascension. While he was still clinging to the last sentence of a story written in doubt and hesitation, you had already turned the page. And in doing so, you didn't just leave the past behind, you rewrote the contract between you. Not from a place of lack, but from a place of power. Not to close the book, but to begin a new chapter, one where you are no longer shrinking to be chosen, but shining because you chose yourself. This is what it means to rise in divine fire. It is not a battle cry. It is not a chase. It is a quiet, unwavering flame, lit from within, sustained by truth, and felt across realms. The fire was always yours. Now you've simply remembered. And in that remembrance, everything changes. Number 3. The masculine's reckoning. When the mirror turns to flame, this is his storm to walk through now, not yours. The thunder that rolls in his heart, the confusion that stirs in his soul, the questions he can no longer silence. This is the reckoning of the divine masculine. He once moved slowly, believing time was his to command. He convinced himself that this connection could be shelved, put on hold, paused until he felt ready. But something shifted the moment you reclaimed your power. The equation changed, not with noise, but with presence. You didn't chase, you didn't demand. You became still, radiant, sovereign. And that stillness did more than any words ever could. You did not pressure him to rise. You simply rose. You didn't plead for his love. You remembered your own. And in doing so, you activated something ancient and undeniable in him. Your light, once a gentle glow he admired from a safe distance, has now become the fire that exposes the smoke within his soul. The fears he buried, the truths he avoided, and the desires he tried to deny. Every part of him that clung to illusion is now illuminated by the very flame you lit for yourself. Your detachment was not an exit. It was a sacred boundary, a loving pause that said, I will not dim myself to be understood. Now, while you stand rooted in clarity and alignment, he must confront the reality of what has been left unsaid and unfelt. This is the moment when the silence becomes louder than any conversation, and the absence becomes the very force that makes him feel. For so long, he assumed your light would wait patiently, as though love were a distant lighthouse he could return to when the seas calmed. But he now sees the truth. The clock was never counting down your devotion. It was counting down his readiness, not in human time, but in soul alignment. And now, that alignment cannot be postponed. The mirror has become a flame, and the only path forward is through the fire. Let's imagine this through a powerful example. Picture a woman who once waited, prayed, and endlessly hoped for her twin flame to awaken. She gave, she forgave, and she held on through every silence and delay. But one day, something within her shifted. She didn't send another message. She didn't check for signs. Instead, she began pouring that same love and attention into herself. She started healing the wounds she used to project onto him. She found joy in her solitude, clarity in her purpose, and strength in her boundaries. And as she rose into her full light, radiant, grounded, and no longer seeking, he felt it. Maybe not with words, but with a deep energetic jolt that disrupted his illusion of control. Suddenly, he couldn't escape the emptiness of his own delay. Her silence spoke louder than her presence ever did. This is the moment of reckoning, the moment he realizes she's no longer waiting at the same emotional doorstep. She didn't leave out of bitterness. She evolved out of truth. And now, if he wants to meet her, it's not her patience he needs, it's his own courage to rise. Number 4, detachment as sacred rebalancing. There comes a moment on the twin flame journey when the most courageous act is not holding on, but letting go, without shutting down. That is what you've done. You chose to love without losing yourself. You released the connection, not in bitterness, but in trust. You didn't close your heart, you expanded it. And now, what feels like silence is not abandonment. It is sacred recalibration. The energy between you is not dying, it's transforming. He is not distancing himself from you out of rejection. He is facing the very version of himself that still questions whether he's capable of loving at the depth you embody. This pause in your connection is not a step backward. It is the space required for him to confront his own shadows. You didn't trigger his withdrawal. You triggered his awakening. You shook the illusion he was living in, and now that illusion no longer fits. Your light has become too radiant, too honest, too expansive to be ignored. It doesn't chase, it invites. It doesn't plead, it mirrors. And through that reflection, he sees not just who you are, but who he must become in order to stand beside you. He cannot return as the man who once ran, once feared, once resisted the pull of your soul. He can only return as someone transformed, someone who has met his own depth and found the strength to hold yours. This is not punishment. This is not loss. This is sacred alignment in progress. The silence is not empty. It is speaking in ways words never could. He is not hiding from you. He is hiding from the truth you reflect back to him. And it is that very truth that will eventually guide him home. You did not lose him by letting go. You freed him, and in doing so, you have freed yourself to continue rising into your wholeness. The love remains, but now it moves on a higher frequency, one that can only be met through inner rebalance. Let this space be holy. Let this distance be grace. Because if he returns, it will not be as the man he once was. It will be as the man who finally knows how to meet you, fully, fiercely, and whole. If you've made it this far, it means something in these words stirred something within you, a truth you've lived, a pain you've carried, or a strength you're just beginning to claim. Take a moment now to breathe, to reflect. Has your own journey called you to let go with love? Have you experienced the sacred silence that isn't rejection, but transformation? We'd love to hear your story in the comments. Your voice might be the very light someone else needs. Or if you feel called, simply type, "I am whole, even in the silence," as your affirmation, a declaration that you are not waiting, you are rising. Number 5. Embodying radiance without waiting. You were never born to dim your light for anyone, not for his comfort, not for his indecision, and certainly not for the illusion of being chosen. Your brilliance was never meant to be conditional. You were not made to wait in the shadows, hoping he would see your worth. You are the lighthouse, not a flicker in the distance, but a blazing beacon that calls truth to the surface. You are the magnetic force that doesn't pull through desperation, but through alignment. And now, the universe, in its divine intelligence, is responding to the clarity of your energy. It's not giving you replacements for what you once longed for. It's offering you confirmations, signs, reflections, echoes of the truth you have chosen to embody. You see, you were never pleading for love. You were transforming into it. You became the frequency of love, not the wounded kind that waits to be seen, but the sovereign kind that sees itself. A love that no longer asks to be held because it has already rooted itself deep within your being. That love has become a force, an atmosphere, a vibration. It heals simply by existing. And when he feels it, if he chooses to return, it won't be because you reached out, chased, or reminded him of your value. It will be because he remembered what real love feels like when it is not chasing, but becoming. But here is the truth that sets you free. Your rising is not dependent on his return. Your timeline is no longer tied to his readiness. You are already walking your divine path, already aligned with your higher self, already becoming what you once thought you had to find in another. This is the sacred turning point when you stop orbiting around his potential and begin living from your embodiment. You are anchored, you are radiant, you are free. And in that freedom, you are no longer waiting. You are becoming the miracle you once prayed for. Number 6. The union rewritten in light. A sacred transformation is unfolding, one that reshapes everything you thought union meant. For some, this will lead to reunion, a return in alignment and truth. For others, it will bring redirection, a divine detour towards something greater than the connection they once clung to. But no matter the outcome, the foundation remains the same. It was your healing that set this in motion. It was your surrender, not from weakness, but from power, that opened this path. It was your choice to reclaim yourself that demanded the universe respond. And now, the divine masculine stands at a threshold. He cannot meet you as the man he used to be. He cannot show up with half-truths, old patterns, or masked fear. The energy you now embody requires authenticity, not potential. He must rise or remain behind in the shadow of the self he never fully embraced. The divine feminine is no longer tethered to grief. She's not frozen in longing or stuck in the cycle of hope and disappointment. She's moving, evolving, receiving new frequencies that mirror her expansion, her power, and her wholeness. Her heart, once patiently waiting, has blossomed beyond waiting. It beats now not in anticipation of a return, but in celebration of her becoming. And in that expansion, she has become untouchable, not because she has closed herself off, but because she has become complete. No longer searching to be filled, no longer willing to shrink to be understood. She is whole, and in that wholeness, she has rewritten the vibration of the connection. This is not the end of the bond. It is the rebirth of the contract. But it is no longer a contract signed in pain, in yearning, or in imbalance. It is a sacred agreement being rewritten in light by a woman who finally chose herself, not as an act of defiance, but as an act of truth. In doing so, she hasn't broken the connection. She has elevated it. And now, only what resonates with her radiance can remain. The match you lit was never struck to pursue love. It was sparked to embody it. And now, without reaching, chasing, or proving, your radiance speaks for itself. This light you've cultivated is not just a beacon for him. It's a declaration to the universe that you are already whole, already love, already home. You are no longer waiting in the shadows for him to choose you. You are standing in the light, offering space for him to rise, not through force, but through the quiet power of your embodiment. Whether he rises to meet you or chooses another path, your flame continues to burn, unwavering, sacred, and sovereign. Because the divine feminine does not dim herself to be found. She becomes the lighthouse. She becomes the choice, not out of desperation, but from remembrance, from truth, from love that no longer asks for validation, but instead radiates clarity. This is the new way of love, not begging to be seen, but allowing yourself to be seen exactly as you are. You remind the world what sacred love truly looks like. Not a performance, not a sacrifice, but a presence. A flame that does not flicker in silence, but stands tall in devotion. If this message resonates with your soul, type the words in the comments. I am the flame, not the seeker. Let it be your affirmation. Let it be your reminder. And if you found healing, truth, or clarity in this video, support this journey by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your presence helps this light reach those who need it most. Don't forget to watch the next video below. It might hold the message your soul has been waiting for.